This beautiful love story begins in the early 2000s with a girl named Xiao who was very sad. She is leaving her small countryside village to enroll in the city's most prestigious institution, Xania School. Her mother and younger brother accompany her, not out of affection, but more like reluctant escorts. Neither shows her any respect or happiness, as her mother scolds her constantly, and her brother finds new ways to irritate her. By now, Xiao has grown used to being everyone's punching bag, so she sits quietly, staring out of the car window. On the way, the driver tries to cheer up the atmosphere by saying that her mother must feel proud. After all, it isn't easy for a girl from such a small village to secure a place at such an elite school. But the mother scoffs, dismissing the compliment. She coldly replies that there's nothing to be proud of since good grades were expected anyway. According to her, the school is unnecessarily expensive and too far from home, and she already has to pay for her son's education. She mutters that her daughter's endless dreams make life unbearable for the rest of the family. Xiao sits in silence, the words wounding her, but she swallows the pain. Finally, they reach the school. Her mother doesn't even bother to step inside or meet a teacher. Instead, she sighs that her whole day has been wasted dropping her daughter here. Meanwhile, Xiao pleads with her younger brother to return her CD player, a treasured gift from her father when she became proficient in English language. The boy refuses, clutching it with a smirk, and her mother once again blames Xiao, saying she should be ashamed for always fighting with her brother. With relief, she adds that at least they can finally live peacefully now that Xiao is gone. She even suggests that her daughter can use the old broken CD player instead. With that, mother and son drive away, leaving her standing alone. Xiao looks up at the towering building of Xania School. The intimidating walls seem to welcome her into a world she doesn't yet belong to. As she steps inside, she meets the male lead, Liam. He is the classic bad boy, wealthy, rebellious, and adored by girls for reasons nobody fully understands. He had a visible cut on his forehead, and he was bleeding. Instinctively, Xiao almost hands him the entire tissue box. At the last second, she takes one out and politely gives it to him, telling him to clean the wound. Liam simply murmurs a thanks and walks away without much interest, leaving her a little flustered. Later, a teacher shows her the dormitory building. Most of the rooms belong to teachers, which explains the eerie silence. Xiao is informed that since her admission was the last, she is the only student given a room here, and she'll live alone. For the first time in her life, she actually smiles brightly. She whispers to herself that she finally has a room of her own. Though the room is not as fancy as others, she takes pride in cleaning it, arranging her belongings, and neatly setting up her uniform. But her joy is cut short. While she is changing, Liam accidentally opens the door. Shocked, she panics and chases him out with fiery words, demanding to know why he barged into a girl's room. He calmly says he didn't know anyone had moved in, since he had always used the space as a secret hideout. With his trademark smirk, he even adds that she should have locked the door while changing. Apparently, privacy wasn't a subject he studied in school. Furious, Xiao slams the door on him. Later, after nervously asking a neighboring teacher for directions about where to find basic supplies, she returns only to freeze in shock. Through the window, Liam has once again snuck into her room. This time, he mocks her broken CD player and even offers her his own, claiming it carries the autograph of superstar Jay Chou. When she refuses, he pretends he might throw it away, making her panic. Finally, it becomes clear he was just teasing her. As he watches her struggle, his expression softens, noticing how innocent she really is. He properly introduces himself, and she gives her name too. Apologizing, he admits he was simply used to hiding out here, but from now on, he won't intrude again. With that, he leaves. The next day, heavy rain pours down as students gather for military training. Section 1, Xiao's class, crowds together under shelter. Suddenly, Ling entered. She was the beauty queen of the school. The students gasp dramatically, as if a celebrity has just walked in. Then another girl named Lacey approaches Xiao and politely asks her name. But before Xiao can answer, Liam bursts in, loudly calling her name while handing back the charger he had borrowed. Once again, the entire group heard Xiao name and gasps, gossiping whether there is something between the two. Embarrassed, Xiao tries to say her name to Lacey, but Lacey cuts her off with a sharp look, saying she already heard it. Secretly, Lacey is irritated, since she has a crush on Liam herself and can't stand the thought of this poor newcomer having any connection to him. Later, exams begin. All students finish early and hand their papers in, leaving Xiao trembling with nerves. Surrounded by students sharper than her confidence crumbles. Mistake after mistake fills her sheet, but she somehow manages to finish the paper. Back in her room, she gets a call from her mother. Excitedly, she tries to tell her about school life, but her mother bluntly replies that she had better behave and not cause trouble. Without another word, she hangs up. For a moment, Xiao sits in silence, realizing once again that her mother doesn't care for her, but sees her only as a burden. The next day, results are announced. Xiao's marks are average. A girl tries to comfort her, reminding her that she had once topped in state exams, so don't worry, because next time she may do better. But then she asks the real question: was Liam her boyfriend? Horrified, Xiao quickly denies it, insisting she only knows him casually. Watching from the side, Lacey makes a sour face. Inwardly, she fumes. Why should a poor village girl even know the boy she secretly likes? Life, according to her, is deeply unfair. In the next scene, Xiao decides to explore the city alone for the first time. As she walks through the busy streets, there's a spark of joy in her eyes, though, ironically, she's the only one smiling in a crowd full of strangers. She begins to feel invisible, like no one even notices she exists. Maybe that's what gives her courage. So, right there in the middle of the sidewalk, she starts dancing with her umbrella, freely, awkwardly, and beautifully out of rhythm. After all, she's always been trapped between exams and loneliness. This is the first time she's breathing without any restrictions. Coincidentally, Liam happens to be inside a nearby shop and spots her through the glass. Watching her dance like no one's watching, he can't help but chuckle as she looks like a lost tourist performing in her own imaginary concert. Soon, Xiao enters the same store and starts browsing through the CD shelves. Liam quietly follows, amused by her focus. When she picks up a CD labeled English Lecture, he blurts out teasingly that she might be the only person on Earth who chooses grammar lessons over music albums. Startled, Xiao turns around sharply and demands to know why he's there. She asks if he doesn't have any friends to hang out with, since he's always roaming around alone. Liam smirks and says she looks lonelier than him after all. He saw her dancing in public like she'd rented the whole street. Embarrassed, Xiao fumbles for words, while Liam tries to sound casual and pulls her towards with her phone case. He advises her not to hang her phone around her neck like a child. Someone might yank it off and accidentally strangle her, not exactly the best way to go viral. She smiles awkwardly and admits that she's from a small town, not used to the city's style yet. But with time, she'll learn everything. Liam offers to be her teacher, then quickly backtracks with a grin, saying he probably sounds too clingy for some reason. He always ends up annoying the good students. Xiao assures him that he isn't annoying at all, and in fact, she enjoys talking to him. That's all Liam needs to hear. He brightens up instantly and offers to save his number in her phone. But when he opens her contacts, he's surprised as there are only 3 numbers: Mom, Dad, and Home. He jokes that even NASA's emergency hotline would have made the list before any friend. Laughing softly, he adds his own number, marking the beginning of their friendship. The next day, during class, Xiao accidentally drops her belongings, and among them, Lacey notices the CD player, the very one Liam had given her. Green with jealousy, Lacey decides to humiliate her. In front of everyone, she accuses Xiao of stealing it, claiming it was her lost CD player. The class falls silent, murmuring and exchanging suspicious glances. Even the class monitor steps in, and when he removes the sticker on the back, Lacey's name is indeed written there. In reality, the CD player had originally belonged to Lacey. She had gifted it to Liam on his birthday, and he had later passed it on to Xiao. But standing in front of everyone, Xiao feels too humiliated to explain. Tears well up in her eyes as Lacey keeps taunting her, saying things like, "It's not your fault, really. People from small places tend to do these things." That final insult breaks her. Xiao runs out of the classroom, crying uncontrollably. Outside, she calls Liam, her voice trembling. He instantly understands something terrible has happened. Without hesitation, he drives to pick her up. He takes her to his favorite spot, a quiet place overlooking the city lights, and tells her to calm down. As she closes her eyes, the cruel words echo in her mind again, and she bursts into tears. Concerned, Liam asks if someone at school bullied her and insists she tell him the name. He promises he'll teach the person a lesson. Through sobs, Xiao explains that the CD player he gave her belonged to one of her classmates, and now everyone thinks she's a thief. Liam's expression darkens as he realizes the classmate is none other than Lacey. He clenches his fists, muttering that the CD player had been a gift to him from Lacey on his birthday, and even if it had her name on it, it was his now. He can't believe she would stoop this low. Hearing this, Xiao is stunned. She realizes Lacey must have deliberately framed her, but before Liam can get angrier, she scolds him too, saying he shouldn't have given away something that belonged to someone else, no matter what. For a moment, Liam tries to defend himself, but eventually sighs and admits he was wrong. When Xiao turns to leave, he stops her with an offer that he'll take her out for Western cuisine. The word Western alone stops her steps. Curious, she agrees. Moments later, the two sit in a cozy restaurant. Xiao looks around in awe, saying she had only seen such places on TV before. Liam laughs and says he's been coming here since childhood, as his grandfather used to take him to all the best restaurants. He starts talking fondly about his grandpa's love, then asks if hers was the same. Quietly, Xiao admits that her grandfather always loved her younger brother more. He's gone now, she says, and she misses him deeply. Liam grows silent for a while, unsure what to say. When they finally leave, she keeps turning around, soaking in the view, almost in disbelief that she got to visit such a place. Watching her childlike wonder, Liam smiles as she looks so innocent, so unfiltered, like a breath of fresh air in his pretentious world. The scene shifts back to her home. That evening, Xiao has dinner with her father, the only person who truly understands her. Her mother, of course, finds another reason to scold her mid-meal, as if it's her favorite hobby. Later that night, while studying, Xiao's phone keeps ringing. It's Liam calling again and again. She gets flustered, drops her pencil, and the sound wakes her brother. He storms out of his room yelling, asking why she can't let anyone sleep in peace and accusing her of ruining their lives. Her mother follows right behind him and, as usual, takes his side without even asking what happened. She starts berating Xiao for studying at such an hour, saying she's been a nuisance since the day she was born. Xiao tries to explain that it was just a pencil that fell, but nobody listens. Once again, she's left standing in silence, holding back tears, the same tears that seemed to be her only loyal companion. When Xiao returned to school, she found Liam waiting for her, irritated and full of questions. He kept teasing her, asking why she hadn't answered his calls, whether she was ignoring him, and even playfully tossing bits of ice down her shirt to provoke a reaction. Unfortunately, it wasn't one of her good days. Already in a sour mood, she snapped and told him to stay away. She said she didn't have time for silly games because, unlike him, her family wasn't as privileged or carefree. Liam froze for a second, visibly offended. He asked what she meant by that. Was she implying that he came to school only to waste time and distract her from her studies? He demanded to know if she studied for knowledge or simply to make money. Xiao's voice trembled, but her words were sharp. She said she came here to change her life, and for her, money was the only path to do it. Nothing else mattered. Not fun, not friendship, not even love. She asked him to please stop bothering her. That hit Liam harder than he expected. His expression hardened, and he quietly said that from now on, he would indeed stay away. He thought she was his friend, but maybe he was wrong. With that, he turned and walked off. For a brief moment, Xiao wanted to stop him. After all, he was the only person who had ever stood by her, but she couldn't as her pride and desperation tied her tongue. The next scene cuts to Liam sitting in his grandfather's old house, looking utterly defeated. His grandfather, noticing the gloom, tried to cheer him up with small talk and snacks. But when he began coughing, Liam rushed to fetch his medicine and found a small tin full of coins. His grandfather had been saving them secretly for him. Liam protested, saying he couldn't accept the money, that his grandfather had already done enough for him. But the old man smiled and said something that stayed with him forever. Take it. These are your grandfather's coins, not your father's. A father's money always comes with strings attached, but a grandfather's money comes with love you never have to repay. Back at school, Ling approached Xiao. She remembered her as the one who scored the highest marks in English and complimented her intelligence. Xiao smiled shyly, admitting she wasn't very good at talking to people. Ling told her that confidence was the key to survival. Without it, the world would eat her alive. Then, in her bubbly tone, she invited Xiao to her birthday party. Delighted, Xiao agreed instantly, as it was the first time someone had invited her anywhere. That evening, Ling's party was nothing short of extravagant. The hall sparkled with lights, luxury decorations, and a crowd of glamorous students. Even Liam was there, effortlessly charming as always. When it was time to open gifts, Ling admired the expensive presents piling up before her. But when she reached Xiao's modestly wrapped box, her face lit up with genuine happiness, as it was simple, thoughtful, and handmade. Before Ling could say anything, Lacey jumped in, smirking that the gift looked fake, probably a knockoff brand. She sneered that it didn't belong among the expensive ones. Ling tried to defend Xiao, saying she genuinely liked it. But Lacey wouldn't stop. Her taunts grew sharper, making everyone uncomfortable. That's when Liam finally lost his patience. He stood up and defended Xiao fiercely, saying that Lacey spoke like she owned the fashion world, when in reality, she probably thought Gucci was a type of sushi. The line drew a few muffled laughs, and Lacey's friends asked why he was defending that girl. Is it because something was going on between you two? Before Liam could even reply, Xiao blurted out that yes, he was her boyfriend, and without giving him a chance to react, she grabbed his hand and dragged him out of the hall. Everyone stood frozen. Even Liam himself looked utterly bewildered, half amused and half confused by what just happened. Outside, Xiao broke down in tears. Liam asked her why she was crying when she hadn't even said a word during the party. Through sobs, she admitted that was exactly what hurt her, the fact that she had stayed silent while someone humiliated her. Liam comforted her the best he could until she finally calmed down. She said now everyone would hate him too because she had claimed him as her boyfriend, and she didn't even deserve someone like him. Her family didn't love her, so how could anyone else? Liam looked at her for a long moment before confessing something he had never shared before. He told her that she was perfect to him not because she was flawless, but because she was real. Then he revealed that his own family wasn't any better. His mother had died giving birth to him, and his father remarried a woman who made his life miserable. He said he survived only because of his grandfather, who had protected and loved him when no one else did. Hearing this, Xiao's anger melted away. For the first time, she saw the pain behind his playful attitude. Between them, something shifted, something fragile but deeply emotional. Suddenly, the story transitions to the present. It's now the year 2024. Xiao, after years in Singapore, is finally returning home to China. As the car stops outside her old house, her younger brother warns her not to start another argument with their mother. He doesn't want another scene. When she walks in, her mother greets her coldly, saying it's nice she finally remembered she has a family. Her father, visibly unwell, gives her a weak smile. The next day, after taking him for a medical checkup, they all head home by rented vehicle. On the way, her mother sighs dramatically, complaining that life would have been easier if they had a car instead of being kicked around by bus rides and overcharging taxi drivers. Xiao turns to her brother and asks if he has a driving license. When he nods, she suddenly suggests going to a car showroom. "Let's buy a car today," she says firmly, stunning them both. They went to the showroom to buy a car, and her brother, naturally, brought along his girlfriend, apparently as his personal car consultant. As they all explore different models, Xiao stops at one particular car, her fingers brushing the glass, and freezes. Across the showroom, she spots Liam. The air seems to pause. Years have passed, yet his presence still has that same quiet pull. He too is stunned to see her. Before either of them can speak, chaos breaks out nearby because her brother is arguing with a rich-looking girl who's yelling at his girlfriend for spilling cold coffee on her expensive dress. The brother snaps back that she probably has a sugar daddy who'll buy her another one anyway. Before things can escalate, Xiao steps in and orders him to apologize, and he reluctantly mutters, "Sorry." The girl walks over to Liam, speaking to him with casual familiarity. Watching them together, Xiao's chest tightens. From the way the girl looks at him, she assumes Liam must be her girlfriend now. Jealousy quietly creeps in, and before she knows it, Xiao turns away pretending to admire another car while her heart beats a little too fast for comfort. Just then, Liam appeared again, almost as if fate had a terrible sense of timing. He wanted to talk to Xiao one more time, but she didn't make it easy. Her eyes narrowed the moment she saw him. She said that he was just as insolent today as he had been yesterday. Liam folded his arms and smirked. He retorted that the real troublemaker was her brother, who had casually told that girl she probably had a sugar daddy. Who even says things like that? Then, with a tone sharper than before, he added that maybe Xiao wasn't the same innocent village girl she once was, that perhaps studying abroad had changed her, made her more like the city she now belonged to. That comment hit her like a sting. Her anger flared, and the two began arguing again, words bouncing between them like a tennis match nobody was winning. Finally, Xiao snapped, asking if he still thought she was some poor, helpless girl. If that's what he believed, she would prove him wrong, as she'd buy that luxury car right there in front of him. Liam, with a half smile that only made her angrier, handed her the bill mockingly and said she could just pay online. The scene shifts, and reality sets in. Back home, Xiao sits alone, staring at her bank balance. The truth was harsh that her father's medical treatment already drained most of their savings, and the future looked uncertain. Buying an expensive car now seemed less like empowerment and more like financial suicide. Just as regret began to settle in, her brother entered and said someone was waiting downstairs to meet her. When she came down, she froze. It was Liam. He smiled, softer this time, and said how good it felt to see her after all these years. Despite the earlier argument, her heart lifted. She was happy too, though she tried not to show it too clearly. Then the story drifts back in time to the year 2006, when everything between them had first begun. They had started dating after the incident happened at Ling's birthday meeting almost every day. Their world was small but golden, trying new dishes together, laughing over silly things, skating, studying side by side, and enjoying the little seasons of life. One winter afternoon, Liam gifted her a scarf, a beautiful piece she still wore years later. Their story had been perfectly sweet until one stormy evening when heavy rain flooded Xiao's dorm room. Water gushed in, soaking her belongings, leaving her nowhere to stay. She panicked, desperately lifting her books to safety. That's when Liam appeared like a savior, taking her to a grand hotel and booking a room so she could rest for the night. She protested that it was far too expensive. Liam, ever casual, said it wasn't that pricey. Clearly, he'd never checked room rates in his life. Unfortunately, Lacey, her least favorite person in the world, spotted them together and secretly took photos, grinning like she had just discovered fire. Inside the hotel room, Xiao was mesmerized by how soft the bed felt, like lying on a cloud that cost more than her entire tuition. They sat down and talked about their future. Liam said he planned to take over his father's business, while Xiao dreamed aloud about getting into Shinji University, far from home, where she could start fresh. He immediately promised to apply to the same university, and before they knew it, conversation melted into quiet closeness. When Xiao told him to turn off the lights, they stood by the window instead, looking at the glittering cityscape below. She whispered that it felt as if they were floating in space, far away from everything painful and real. Liam smiled, saying the view and the moment was indeed beautiful, but the next day brought disaster. At school, Xiao was summoned to the teacher's office, where her mother was already waiting, face red with anger. Lacey's photos had leaked overnight, and now everyone believed that Xiao and Liam had spent the night together. Without a single question, her mother slapped her repeatedly, shouting how shameful it was for a girl to behave like that. She declared that Xiao would no longer attend that school. Outside, Lacey listened gleefully through the door. Pretending to have some errand, she walked in with an innocent smile, but Xiao saw straight through her. Overcome with rage, she slapped Lacey hard across the face. The sound echoed, and everyone froze. Then, shaking with tears, she ran out of the office. Soon after, she was transferred to another school, a place entirely different from her old school. The atmosphere there wasn't academic. The students were loud, gossipy, and uninterested in studies. Everywhere she went, people whispered behind her back, calling her that girl from the scandal. Even so, when the top student challenged her to a knowledge competition to test how good the Zania transfer girl really was, she accepted. To everyone's surprise, she won easily. The boy, humbled, asked what her rank had been at her old school. She admitted it was average. He sighed, half laughing, half defeated, saying if her rank was average, then he'd probably never have even qualified for that school. He left embarrassed, and the moment he did, Liam appeared in front of Xiao, and he was looking sickly and exhausted. Xiao tried to walk away, but he kept apologizing, begging her to listen. She refused, but when he stumbled and she noticed the deep injury on his leg, her anger softened. He explained that after the photo incident, his father had locked him up and beaten him. He had barely managed to sneak out just to see her. Xiao's heart twisted with guilt. He kept saying it was all his fault, that he was useless, but she shouldn't destroy her own future because of him. They had promised, after all, to attend the same university together. Tears welled in her eyes as she finally stopped resisting and hugged him tightly. Later that night, she gathered her courage and confronted her parents. She told them she wanted to return to Xania school. She swore she hadn't crossed any line and that she'd been framed. Her mother asked coldly why she hadn't said that earlier. Xiao replied in a trembling voice that it wouldn't have mattered as no one ever believed her anyway. Her mother warned that people there would bully her, gossip, and make her life miserable. Could she really endure that? Xiao nodded firmly. She said she was tired of running away, tired of being weak. She wanted to fix her future, to reclaim what she'd lost. She said that people work so hard to get into that school, and she had been expelled not because of failure, but because of someone else's cruelty. With tears streaming down her cheeks, she said, "I've never asked you for anything before, but please grant me this one wish, let me go back." Her mother stared at her for a long time. Then, with a sigh that sounded half like exhaustion and half like reluctant pride, she finally agreed. The scene shifts back to the school campus, where the announcement echoes through the corridors. 2 students who had previously committed a serious offense had now been reinstated after serving their punishment. The administration issued a strict warning: no one was to violate school regulations again. Inside the classroom, however, the atmosphere was thick with gossip. Everyone whispered about Xiao's return. Lacey, as usual, led the parade of venom. She sneered that Xania school had lost all its standards, allowing a girl who once spent the night with her boyfriend to sit among them. Xiao's temper trembled beneath the surface, but she forced herself to stay calm. Then, with an icy smile, she turned to Lacey and asked whether her cheek still hurt because she remembered slapping her pretty hard. The class fell silent. Lacey shot up from her seat, ready to fight. But before she could speak, Xiao grabbed a glass of water and splashed it across Lacey's desk. Her voice was sharp and steady as she warned, "Don't you ever try to mess with me again." She leaned closer, whispering that she too knew plenty of Lacey's little secrets and could expose them anytime she pleased. Her kindness, she said, should not be mistaken for weakness. There was no need for Lacey to fabricate rumors, thankfully. Once the school year ended, she wouldn't have to see her face again anyway. The entire class froze in disbelief. The once soft-spoken, timid Xiao, who could barely utter a full sentence, was now standing up for herself like a storm in uniform. Days passed quickly after that. Entrance exams were around the corner, and practice tests filled the students' schedules. Everyone took their mock exams, but when results came out, Xiao's marks weren't as high as she'd hoped. Her face fell, and she murmured that perhaps she wouldn't make it to her dream university after all. Liam, ever the encourager, reminded her who she truly was, that the girl who had once risen from nothing didn't get to surrender now. When she looked out the window and saw him smiling at her, her confidence flickered back like a candle refusing to go out. But the scene soon darkened. Liam's grandfather had fallen gravely ill. In a quiet, heartbreaking moment, the old man handed Liam his bank book, telling him that the password was his birth date. Liam refused tearfully, saying he didn't need money, only his grandfather. The old man smiled weakly and said he was in too much pain and that his time had come. "Stay strong after I'm gone," he whispered. Liam broke down, clutching his hand. Meanwhile, at school, Xiao's teacher called her aside. She told her that she knew about her dream university, but there was an even greater opportunity ahead. 3 students were being offered full scholarships to study at a prestigious university in Singapore, and she believed Xiao should apply. Her English skills were exceptional, and she could easily secure a good job there after graduation. Later that day, Xiao rushed home, excitement lighting her face. She explained to her parents that the school would cover all academic expenses, and they only needed to help with her living costs. It was the chance of her lifetime. But her mother immediately refused, and her voice was cold as steel. She said she had no money to spare, and whatever she did have was for her son's education. Xiao stormed into her room, slamming the door. Moments later, she stepped out again, trembling with anger and tears. She asked her mother if she wasn't her daughter too. Then why was she treated so differently? Why had she been given nothing but rejection and resentment since childhood? Her mother's patience snapped. She shouted that she wanted her daughter to live a simple life like other girls, to stay home, not to chase wild dreams. "I've never seen a poor girl become successful," she spat and angrily shouted. "You'll only waste our money. And who do you think is so grown up that you can leave China and live alone in Singapore?" Xiao, sobbing uncontrollably, shouted back that yes, she wanted to go as far away as possible. She couldn't bear to live in such a toxic household anymore. Her mother, shaking with fury, stormed into her room and began tearing up all her certificates, shouting that education had given her daughter wings. Xiao cried out, begging her to stop, but she didn't. Finally, her father intervened, yelling at his wife to leave the room. He was the only one who ever stood by his daughter. Her brother dragged their mother away, leaving Xiao in pieces, literally and emotionally. She sat on the floor all night, trying to tape her torn certificates back together, tears blurring her vision. The next morning brought devastating news. Liam's grandfather had passed away. Xiao went to the funeral, where Liam looked utterly shattered. When they met, he confessed that his grandfather had meant everything to him, that he had left all his savings to Liam so he could finally afford to attend the same university as her. Xiao stayed silent, unable to summon the courage to tell him the truth that she was planning to go to Singapore instead of the university that they had planned. Time jumped forward to after their exams. The two decided to spend the day out together, wandering through the city, eating, laughing, pretending that everything was still simple. At the end of the day, they went boating on a quiet lake. The sunlight shimmered on the water, and Liam smiled faintly. He told her to remember this view carefully, because when she went abroad, she would miss it. Xiao froze, because he already knew that Xiao was going abroad. He said softly that he wanted to hear it from her mouth, but she hadn't said a word. Was she really planning to leave without even saying goodbye? Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered that she had no choice. Liam smiled sadly and said it was all right, that she should take care of herself overseas. Then, right there on the lake, they ended their relationship quietly, painfully, with the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. The story then returned to the present, years later. Fate had brought them together again, and both seemed genuinely happy to see each other. Liam told her how proud he was that she had become so successful that she even owned her own apartment now and that her future looked bright. Xiao blushed faintly, grateful yet nostalgic. They confessed how deeply they had missed one another all those years, but the following day shattered that peace. The doctor delivered dreadful news. Xiao's father had cancer and the treatment would cost an enormous amount. His chances of survival were uncertain, even after surgery. The entire family was devastated. Her brother, desperate, asked her if her rich friend could help them financially. Xiao, weary and broken, told him to go home. She picked up her phone and called her office, asking for an extended leave of absence as her voice steady, but her heart trembled. And once again, life had brought her to a crossroads between duty and love, between family and the dreams she had fought so hard to protect. But the company refused to grant Xiao any leave, no matter how much she pleaded. Frustration boiled inside her as she began collecting her papers in anger, when suddenly Liam appeared. Without saying a word, he pulled her into his arms and told her to breathe, to relax. His calm tone steadied her trembling shoulders. At that moment, she broke down completely as the news of her father's deteriorating condition had shattered her. When she finally opened her eyes again, she found herself sitting in Liam's car. He was on the phone, making arrangements for her father's treatment, calling hospitals, contacting doctors, handling everything she couldn't. Watching him speak so sincerely brought tears to her eyes. She walked over to him quietly and thanked him. Liam smiled faintly and said it was nothing. Then he asked her softly what her dream was. Xiao took a breath and replied that her dream was simple, as she wished that when she woke up each morning, he would be the first person she saw. That confession caught him off guard. His heart stirred, realizing that perhaps Xiao still felt the same way. But she quickly added, half-teasingly, that it didn't really matter anymore since he already had a girlfriend. Liam chuckled and clarified that the girl she'd seen with him was just his cousin, not his lover. They walked together under the fading light, talking about everything and nothing. The heaviness in her heart had lifted. She felt lighter, freer. That night they stayed together again, not out of impulse, but out of comfort and quiet affection. It was clear now that they had found their way back into love. The next morning, Liam arranged for Xiao's father to be moved into a larger, more comfortable hospital room. He personally sought the best doctors to make sure he received the finest treatment, something that deeply moved her entire family. Even her mother, who had often been skeptical of everything, asked if the wealthy young man helping them was the same one who liked her daughter. Xiao did not answer, only gave a faint smile. Days later, the surgery was done. Xiao sat by her father's bedside, holding his frail hand as he apologized for being a burden and for causing her so much hardship. She reassured him gently, telling him none of it was his fault. Her father, weak but smiling, told her he was proud of her for working so hard despite the odds and that he had always wished he could give her a better life. She, eyes glistening with tears, told him he had been the best father she could ever hope for and that he had believed in her when no one else did. That tender exchange turned out to be their last conversation. Soon after, her father passed away. During the funeral arrangements, Xiao handled all expenses and asked her brother to contribute half. Her mother was furious, accusing Xiao of being shameless for asking money from her own brother, claiming that Xiao could afford it all herself. Xiao calmly explained that she didn't have enough and that her brother needed to learn responsibility instead of living as if he were just a decorative houseplant. Just as their mother was about to argue again, her brother stepped in and agreed with Xiao, acknowledging that their father had been his parent too and that it was his duty to share the burden. Their mother fell silent. That night, her brother quietly asked Xiao if she hated him. She smiled faintly and said she could never hate him as he was her little brother. What she resented was not him, but their mother's lifelong harshness. Her brother sighed and insisted their mother truly loved her, even if she never showed it. Then he handed her a small box. Inside, Xiao found neatly cut newspaper clippings about her achievements and her old school certificates, once torn apart by her mother, now carefully taped back together. Tears filled her eyes as she realized her mother's sternness had been a clumsy disguise for love. She asked her brother not to tell their mother that she had seen the box, and he nodded and left quietly. Alone, she sat hugging the box, smiling through her tears. The next day, she met Liam to say goodbye before leaving for work in Singapore. He admitted he disliked goodbyes and would not come to the airport. She smiled and assured him they would meet again. Outside, he hugged her tightly, whispering that he would miss her and hoped fate would bring them together sooner next time. Xiao settled into her new job abroad, surrounded by welcoming colleagues, but her heart never stopped yearning for Liam. Finally, she packed her bags and returned to China without warning. Seeing her, Liam was stunned. She teased him, saying she had come back for him and had even quit her job abroad to start anew near him. Overwhelmed, he confessed he could hardly believe she had returned. Xiao pulled him and kissed him and promised that she would never leave again and declared they would marry and stay together always. Liam, laughing through tears, held her close as they finally reunited, ending their long separation with hope and joy.